Hello and welcome to our review for the Roto Grip Exotic Gem. This one's going to be wild, so strap in, and I can guarantee it'll be the best and most complete review you've ever seen or your money back. As far as I know, this is also the first ball review ever to feature someone seriously reviewing a ball with each hand. I'll also feature a couple different surfaces on a couple different patterns and have plenty of comparisons coming. Be sure to check out my memberships. Members have already gotten several early and exclusive looks, and I also have a link to Bowler's Mart in the description to get one of these pre-ordered. It's an easy way to help the channel. The Exotic Gem releases on December 9th, and pre-orders are already up and available. We're here once again at Royal Crest Lanes in Lawrence, Kansas. They always take amazing care of us when it comes time to film, and we're going to start on the house shot with the box surface, which is the new React-A-Gloss polish. The pattern is similar to Kegel's Easy Street, but with a little more volume. It's not wide open, but it isn't terribly difficult either. The Exotic Gem is easy math on the details. It's a pearl gem. Same core, and interestingly enough, the same cover. This is in fact the first time we've seen Microtrax Pearl stateside. Usually when Roto goes to do a hybrid version, and always when they go to do a Pearl version of an HP3 or HP4 ball, it's the much weaker and more responsive E-Trax formula. For example, the original Halo was Microtrax Solid. The Halo Pearl and Halo Vision were E-Trax. The UFO was Microtrax. UFO Alert was E-Trax. The Idol was Microtrax. Idol Pearl was E-Trax, etc. This means the solids are usually very strong and smooth, and the pearls and hybrids are really long and flippy, which for me creates too big of a gap sometimes, where I'd go from a Halo down to an Idol and then kind of back up sideways down to a Halo Pearl, when what I really wanted to do was stay in something asymmetric. But with the size of the gap from a Halo to a Halo Pearl or a UFO to a UFO Alert, that left me in between ball reactions sometimes. However, to be perfectly fair, what we're watching here isn't what people typically envision when they think pearl. This ball is very strong, obviously a gem. The shape that core creates is already unmistakable, but both the strength and response of the Exotic is allowing me to be very easy and gentle out of the ball at release and just let it work because of how strong it is. That doesn't mean it was exactly comfortable. It definitely made me keep my speed up, even more so later when I knocked the shine off, but once I got further inside, it afforded me some of the easiest and most relaxed shots I've ever thrown due to the stronger cover formula. Now, despite it being polished, it's still getting traction stability in the oil, and that made it able to have a strong and continuous finish on the back end. This is something I've recommended doing and will be doing myself moving forward, but factory polish can be great for looking pretty on the wall in the shop, but not so great for ball reaction, so I hit it with a 3000 pad. On the house shot, this made it a little too early and smooth. If this was a more stereotypical pearl like an RSTX2 or a Rubicon UC2, surface is usually desirable to blend them out a little more, but this ball was already blendy enough out of the box. This ball is much more along the lines of the Zen and Altered Reality, which are just fine with the factory polish because of how early and strong they already are. The polish actually kind of helps balance them out, and adding surface almost makes them too strong and early for most regular house patterns, like I think will be the case here. I've mentioned this before, but we need to move on from the solid hybrid pearl stereotypes, because obviously if you think this is going to be like a UC2 or an RSTX2 just because it's a pearl, that's a mistake. However, in relation to the gem, this is obviously a longer and stronger version, so the comparison or typical hierarchy works when you're talking about solid hybrid pearl within the same cover formula, but you can't do that when working with different formulas. The pearl Exotic Gem is stronger, earlier, and smoother than the solid original Rubicon, and while it shapes somewhat like a UFO Alert, it's an easy arrow stronger. It fits very well as a straight step down from the gem, so you'll have exactly the same look in a slightly weaker, longer, and sharper package. It's a true and perfect complement. Moving to the sport pattern, I did get some shiny footage before I took it to 3000, so let's take a look at shiny versus 3K on the sport pattern. Our typical 2019 USBC Open Championships doubles and singles pattern, long side of medium at 42 feet, heavy volume at 28.4 mils, and at just over a 2-to-1 ratio. It's very difficult. The strength of the cover still flexes on this pattern, again, despite the shine. It's a little cleaner and more responsive than I'd like. I need more control on this side of the lane because wet-dry is more exaggerated, or we have more skid in the oil and more response on the dry than the right does. Still, this ball is strong enough to make it work. I'd typically never be in something asymmetric on a difficult pattern though. We have no issues getting something to hook or shape. Shape is not something you want on a sport pattern to begin with, and not only that, we try to bury it as much as we can with surface and urethane. We need control, not torque. For a general demo though, or if you're a lower rev lefty that could actually use some dig and shape on heavier volumes, you just have to look at the Gem and the Exotic Gem as a pair for the tough stuff. If I was able to use ASIMs, these would be at the top of the list because most everything else will be too clean and sharp. Now we'll move to the 3000 grit footage on the sport pattern. There isn't a huge difference, but it is more blendy and stable. I felt a lot more comfortable because I didn't feel like I had to catch it to get it to hook in the oil at the same time as I was trying to be soft to get it to stay slower on the back end. Here I could just go on ahead and get through it, knowing that with the extra surface it was going to read earlier where I wanted it to and then blend on the back end a little more. You even see that I'm going to trip several of these high hits. This isn't luck, this is a product of matching the ball reaction up. You get more sloppy hits or carry when your ball isn't moving so sharply or cutting on the back end. When you can slow the shape down, get a rounder look into the pins, it allows them to move around a little more rather than the ball motion being so strong that it basically ignores the pins on the way through them. Sharper ball motion is sexy, but you often see people going for big back end moves, being frustrated at wrapping corner pins, driving by back row pins, or leaving stuff like the 4-9 on the right or 6-8 on the left. Now the smoother reaction will leave you with the occasional corner pin, but generally speaking it's a net positive. Now we'll compare it to the original Gem first on the house shot. The Gem comes out of the box at 2000, so quite a bit of surface. You'll also notice my physical game has come a long way since we filmed this. Right away you'll recognize the relationship, and I remember how impressed I was that this strong of a ball with this much surface still played this well on the house shot. It blended well, it didn't burn up on the friction, saved plenty of energy, was continuous, hit well, just great ball. Now obviously I couldn't ever throw it. I tried a few times, I used it in a couple tournaments, but just way too much traction and overall ball reaction to get much use out of it in a scoring situation. Now, adding the box or polished exotic back in, obvious compliment. It's a perfect step down from the original when the Gem starts digging too much or just being too strong overall. Same shape, same general look, just not quite as strong. Perfect compliment. Back on the sport pattern, the relationship of course stays the same. The Gem is just a smoother version. If you need a smoother shape or more control, the original Gem is going to be your best choice, but if the lanes start burning up and you want that same look, but the Gem is too strong and or too smooth, the Exotic can step right in and give you the bit of extra length and shape that you need. Now that I've made you wait long enough, here it is, the righty return on the house shot first, but starting at the 3000 grit adjustment. I was already going to be filming enough at the time, and the coming comparisons will explain it all. Also, before you drop into the comments with your coaching tips and suggestions, it's too much to explain here, but save it. I get it. I know. I spend enough time editing and watching back my own footage, let alone knowing what it feels like, and also switching hands because of it, so I'm hyper aware of the situation, and I know I have a lot of practice to do. You're not going to magically notice something in the one playthrough that I've somehow missed in 100, but I digress. I'm also going to planting rather than sliding, so second time bowling righty in 2 years and first attempt at not sliding, so just getting through the first handful of shots was a miracle with a save or two in there when I got moving too fast, but it didn't take long to get warmed up, and when I get back to my wheelhouse inside a third arrow, it's not half bad. Now about the bowling ball, I have the same positive axis point righty as I do lefty. The ball's drilled the same, I'm on the same pattern, my specs are even quite similar now as far as ball roll, but this ball is obviously smoother on the right side than the left. I'll have a whole video dedicated to this coming soon, so I won't get into it now, but it still looks great. However, again, nothing like a stereotypical pearl. It's a lot more like an asymmetric Zen, smooth, blendy, controllable, and continuous. It is funny that everyone hated pearls that acted like the Zen until the Zen, and now have kind of quietly forgotten that the Zen is in fact a pearl, while continuing to talk about pearls like they're all skid snap. It's also incredibly refreshing to be back on the right side where the real wall is. It's nice to actually have something even be a bit too smooth occasionally rather than the relentless shape that exists on the left. Over here I feel like all I had to do was keep it somewhere right at the head pin and I was going to be in good shape. Definitely happy to have my hold in the middle back because physical issues aside, I was always really good at getting deep, fading the middle, and getting it to tip right at the end, so it's nice to actually be able to use some of the boards inside 5 again. Maybe I'm wrong though, maybe the left is walled, I'm just bad, and this ball is so ridiculously good that I can just throw it anywhere. Obviously I have a few things to work on, but I feel good about getting it sorted out, and I think moving from sliding to planting is going to help with that tremendously. Moving to the sport pattern, the initial frustration you see was from my lack of ability to play straighter on the right. That's what's going to take the most work probably. And prior to this shot, there were a few straight dumps or tugs that added no value to the video, so I removed them. I keep saying it, but this pattern is also really hard, and I probably bit off more than I could chew because I also drilled a new infinite physics and filmed for that as well. That comparison's coming soon. But again, once I get in a little into my wheelhouse, I got comfortable again. Much more blend and control than on the left, and that's just side-to-side characteristics. There's a lot more traffic on the right. They get more wear, build up more friction. The ball hooks earlier and is smoother on the right. There's more forgiveness. It's more playable. But if you can manage it on the left, it is nice to know that firm, sharp, and readable ball reaction exists on the left. I think it's actually easier to see the differences between balls on the left, so never to fear, my lefty faithfuls. I'm not switching hands, I'm just adding righty back into the mix. Many more comparisons are coming. I know you all want to know how this ball stacks up against the Dark Code, Infinite Physics, if it could be a possible replacement for the Altered Reality or even the UFO Alert. Once again, pre-orders available at Bowler's Mart. That link is down in the description below. Also, remember my memberships. Members already got to see this footage days ago in addition to the new Infinite. Thanks as always to my outstanding members. Thank you for watching, and may the strikes be with you.